Fear propaganda is a manipulation tactic that uses exaggerated warnings of impending danger or harm to influence people's opinions and behaviors. It works by playing on the audience's deepest fears and anxieties to sway them towards a desired course of action. There are 4 key elements of fear propaganda. First, perceived threat. The propagandist emphasizes a serious threat or harm that the audience is vulnerable to. Second, recommended action. The propagandist provides a specific action the audience can take to reduce the threat. Third, audience capability. The propagandist asserts that the audience has the ability to take the recommended action. Fourth, threat reduction. The propagandist claims the recommended action will effectively diminish the threat. Some examples of fear propaganda include the following. During war, propagandists may depict the enemy as a monster that threatens the nation's values and security, calling citizens to defend against this danger. Advertisers sometimes use fear appeals, such as implying a product is needed to prevent harm, like a car commercial showing a terrible accident to promote seatbelt use. Political groups may exaggerate threats like crime or terrorism to gain support for authoritarian policies. Studies show fear appeals are most effective when the threat feels serious, the recommended action is feasible, and the audience feels capable of taking that action. While all propaganda aims to influence beliefs and behaviors, fear propaganda is distinct in several ways. First, its emotional basis. Fear propaganda specifically targets emotions, particularly fear and anxiety, to drive urgency. In contrast, other types of propaganda may rely on appeals to pride, loyalty, or rational arguments. For instance, glittering generalities might evoke positive feelings without the emotional intensity of fear. Second, there is the focus on threats. Fear propaganda often centers around external threats, such as enemies in wartime or societal dangers, like crime or disease, whereas other forms might focus on presenting a positive vision or promoting a specific ideology without a direct threat involved. Third, there is manipulation of perceptions. Fear propaganda frequently distorts reality by exaggerating threats or creating scapegoats, which is less common in more straightforward persuasive techniques that may simply present facts or benefits of a product or idea. Fifth, behavioral influence. The effectiveness of fear propaganda is closely tied to its ability to prompt immediate action, often through fear of negative consequences. Other forms of propaganda may aim for long-term belief change without the same immediate pressure to act. To defend against fear propaganda, it's important to recognize common signs that it is being employed. Here are some common signs. First comes the exaggerated threats. Fear propaganda often presents threats as more severe, imminent, or widespread than they actually are. Look for dramatic language and imagery. Claims of impending doom or catastrophe. Inflated statistics or worst-case scenarios presented as likely outcomes. Then there are the oversimplified solutions, where complex issues are reduced to simple, black and white choices. Be wary of promises of quick, easy fixes to difficult problems. Us versus them narratives that demonize opponents. Calls for drastic action without nuanced discussion. This is followed by an appeal to emotions over facts. Fear propaganda aims to provoke an emotional rather than rational response. Watch for vivid, frightening anecdotes used instead of data. Emphasis on how the threat feels rather than evidence. Attempts to create a sense of urgency or panic. Then vague or unverifiable claims are provided as proof. Propagandists may use ambiguous language or unsubstantiated assertions. Be skeptical of references to unnamed experts or studies. Conspiracy theories that cannot be disproven. Predictions of future calamities without clear evidence. All this is followed by repetition and ubiquity. Fear messages are often repeated frequently across multiple channels. Look for the same alarming claims appearing in various media. Coordinated messaging from multiple sources. Constant reminders of the supposed threat. Finally, there is the call to immediate action. Fear propaganda typically pushes for swift, often extreme responses. Be cautious of demands to act now, before it's too late. Warnings that hesitation or debate is dangerous. Pressure to make decisions without time for reflection. By recognizing these tactics, you can better evaluate messages critically and resist manipulation through fear. Thus, fear propaganda is a manipulation technique that uses exaggerated threats to influence opinions and behaviors. It works best when the threat feels real and the audience believes they can take protective action. Fear always leads to very dark places. Resist going there.